I guess I'm supposed to keep talking, hey? Yeah. So I titled it Shadow Work and Stuff, and I put no hashtags, but um, it came up in the last video, and the last video is the first time I've looked at the AI synopsis of my videos, and it was like giving me questions to ask. It was prompting me with questions to ask about myself, and I was like, "Whoa, this is wild." Underneath the video, if you click to the right, the drop down menu, and you have the little AI icon, it like summarizes the video for you. So I got it to summarize the video, and I was like, oh, now I understand what my content is based on what the AI interpret it as. That just gave me a bit of an intense, obvious insight into what this is going to look like going forward. Um, Anyway, I got stoned, and that was probably not my hair. I don't even care anymore. So this morning I tried to brush it, and I just self neglected so much that there's like a mat in there, and I don't want to keep brushing it even with a fine tooth comb because it's so dry. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to condition that and do it carefully. So I'm not really taking care of my hair right now, and I don't care. But yeah, it's all matted up. But this part, ew, that's not even necessary. You can watch that, right? Takes like 3 minutes. I don't care. I just got stoned, and I totally zoned out and dissociated into this state of thinking about Jungian shadow work. So there's people in the world that call themselves light workers, and then there's people that call themselves shadow workers. And um, I think I'm in the latter category because I think people misunderstand what that word means. In my mind, doing shadow work is not any different from like the psychology of like Carl Jung, going into the shadow of the self to understand our own stuff that doesn't work out, our own stuff. Um, that's all it means, is being really good at going into one's own shadow and then understanding ourselves, understanding our own stuff that is usually about grief and attachment and not being able to move forward with our own self healing, right? It's about self healing. It's still light work. It's just the other side of the light work. like, um, and I think people are really. I've found this in all kinds of spaces and in all kinds of conversations. People are like, "No, I'm a light worker," and then they're like, "You're a dark worker," and I'm like, "But I'm not doing magic. I'm not using darkness. I'm understanding why darkness exists in people, where it is, and I discuss it. And, like, you know, Carl Jung had a method that was just like, what are our own monsters in our own heads? How do we understand them and release them? And that's how I've been thinking about it. But I just had like ancestral shadow stuff come up, and like heritage stuff. While I was stoned, I just had this massive epiphany, and I was like, oh, with my animus, not my anima, my animus is split in two because I have two fathers. I have the one that I saw and the one I didn't see. And the one I didn't see, all I can do is put together parts of my self identity and ego through that lens as it was depicted to me by my mom. I have very limited information about my actual biological father's side, but what I know involves a lot of dark stuff. So incorporating these things into my life have been going on since I was a kid. Because I'm trying to understand my biological entity, even down to like the medication I'm supposed to be on. And I'm very sure that he was diagnosed schizophrenic or depression is what I thought he had. But every time I have this conversation with my psychiatrist, they have it in my health records somewhere what my mother said when she gave her statement about the medication that he was on to my medical team when I was under psychosis. The information is that he had an antipsychotic that was definitely for people with schizophrenia at the time. So it just leads me to understanding my own self when I try to understand, or like violence, for example. I've overheard the story multiple times now, and there was violence involved. My mom escaped him. If you have a portion of your life story that isn't really filled in, then there's a gap. And when you don't have a gap, you have to fill that gap to make everything make sense. Which I think I've been doing that my whole life. Therefore, if I were to critically analyze my animus, I would need to look at both sides of both my father's contribution to my life and understand how parts of me are experienced through understanding each side. It's like a split heritage thing where I'm like, I come from 3 parents. I don't know why that scene. I just thought of Tigger in an American Tail, that cartoon for kids. Tiger, he says something like about 7 fathers. And I always laughed at that line, and I think my mom laughed at it when I was a kid too, because cats have different babies, kittens from different litters. They can get like multi-pregnants. So they get all the kittens from everywhere. So they have mixed broods. And in my family, I think I felt like that a bit, but not that much because I don't really think about it. But it's also like it got divided from me. So sometimes I forget how, like, what am I? I don't even know half of what I am biologically because I was out of touch with that side. So it's a guessing game half the time, which makes sense. And none of that is shadow work, but it is ancestral work. It's like understanding who you are is a biological mystery for everyone. But my mom's side was just like telling all the stories verbally. We had way too much insight into her past ex-partners. My mom just was around a lot of shit. And she was constantly telling us stories when we were kids that were way wildly inappropriate adult stories, not to be told in front of kids, but like we got the picture. Like I think my uncle said my mom was a drug mule at one point. The natives up north. And she's like, oh, my ex-native boyfriend, Leonard, we're at the Coke factory. And like, we're just always like picturing this Yellowknife place that she's explaining to us who were kids. Like, she worked at the cable place. Like, we're just like trying to map what the hell Yellowknife was to my mom when she was a kid because she just never shut up. So yeah, lots and lots of stories came from my mom about Yellowknife, but mostly it was more of an education in like her own folly. Ugh. Now I'm laughing, but the part that we don't laugh at is how my mom and her were very toxic for each other at times, to the point of dangerous. And then my mom got pregnant. My biological dad tried to rip a phone out of the wall so he could bash in her skull. And then she went to the hospital. And that trauma was in my pregnancy. I'm sure my mom was a little stoned too. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think she said, she was like, I think I did it once during pregnancy. And I was like, okay, mom. Yeah. It was her first pregnancy. I mean, she can. Okay. It's pretty nutso before that, I think. But I was born into nutso, and it stayed nutso. So I understand my mom's side of the story more than well, because we had a lot of my mom's side around their relatives, but we didn't really have my dad's relatives around because they're out in Quebec, and we were west and east and north, and like not we'd go through, and we knew that we know our family close enough. Like we stayed close, but at the same time, I didn't see that as much representation from that as I did around, because my mom had so many siblings that were always like around, and we'd see them when we went to our grandparents' house and they'd come and visit. So we had a lot of closeness in our family between the aunts and my mom. And back then people just called on the phone and actually treated like each other like they care about each other. And these days now we're like mentally brainwashed by the machine. And we don't think like we used to in social ways. What are you saying? Why are you saying stop? I don't know if you're like a devil on my shoulder or an angel on my shoulder. I really don't. Because sometimes you're on one side, then the other. You're like a little fucking gremlin in my ear telling me to stop. I think I should tell you to stop. I think you should stop. No, you. You're being rude. I was talking and you're interrupting. And there's going to be times in life when I'm around other people and you're not the center of the conversation. You're not, my world does not revolve around you. No, I'm not going to. Because it's rude. And you're getting better. I know how smart you are mentally. I get it. No, you're being territorial and rude and hormonal. And sometimes I'm going to talk to other people who are not you. Just because you're on my shoulder doesn't mean I have to evaluate every single conversation. And you're definitely not in control of my fucking agency, dude. You're not. Just because I put you in a cage every night so that you can go to bed, well, I've given you the option. I've told you at night when you're tired, you can go to bed, but do you go to bed? No. Even when the blanket's over your cage, you could sleep in your cage whenever. You go in your cage so you can sleep whenever you want. But for some reason, you call that a cage. It's like it's your dungeon or whatever, which is what I have to do with a bird. That's what we have to do. We're doing our best here, but you can't fly around my apartment if you're going to shit everywhere. Do you understand yet? Why? Do you understand the context yet? If you shit in your cage every time, yeah, if you did, or in the basket or your cage, basket, cage, that's the only place you get to poop. If you did that, I would have the cage would be open all day and you could go to sleep whenever you wanted. You could do that. I'm not in the way of your agency. See, you just shit on my desk. Do you understand how rude that is, Connor? Connor, when I've told you every time do this? No. I don't know what that was about. I really don't know what that was about. Your cage is where I told you to go poop. Go poop in your cage. Not on my desk. I don't understand why. Why do you do this now if you know better? You know better. That wasn't an accident. You're right here. You didn't mistake poop, Connor. That was so rude. That was not mistake. That's why you're going to go in your cage. Because it's the only way is to reinforce that. Is to say, no, time out, time out, time out. And you're supposed to poop in your cage. So don't come out if you can't poop out here. If you're going to poop out here, then why are you even coming out at all? Other people would just say, forget it. Live in your cage. Go. Come on. Time out. Time out. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Here. Because you poop on my desk. When you poop on the desk, you go in the cage. When you poop on the desk, You go in the cage. Connor, what is the desk? What is the, listen, what is the desk? Did you poop in basket? Connor, did you poop in the basket? Did you poop in the basket? No. Where did you poop? You pooped on the desk. Right, Connor, you pooped on the desk. You did not poop in the basket. If you poop on the desk, you go in your cage. That is one of the rules. No. No, Connor, you don't poop on the desk. You poop in the basket. That's one of the rules. No. You poop on the desk, you go in your cage, honey. No, I'm not having an argument about this. These are consistent consequences, Connor. It's called consistent consequences. Oh my fucking God. Okay, I'm on caffeine and I'm on Ritalin. And I'm stoned. So I feel like my neural networks are a little bit fried in the dopamine department. When I'm not on the meds, but when I'm on the meds, I do not feel that way. So my brain has a hyper dopamine setting and a dopamine depletion setting and everything in between. The inattentive ADHD side of my brain, before I even get into like the hypothesis of whether or not I have some kind of autism stuff going on too, neurodivergence, just the ADHD alone is so hard to manage, and my attention span hasn't been where it was. And when I do this with this bird all day, every day, it can be really attention demanding, which is high stress and high cortisol, and a lot of arguing with a bird, all the ways that one would argue with their child, sort of, but I don't know what age to put him in, because sometimes he's like a 5-year-old, and other times he's like a very intelligent little watcher. I don't know what age my bird is mentally or how his brain works, because like there's a lot of intelligence in there, but it's also like a lot of being about as smart as a pigeon. Like birds have a dumb brain too. They seem to have some kind of pattern recognition processing, but the dumb brain is the limbic system or whatever, because they have no salience network to filter anything that requires multiple explanations. Like, if you say don't eat that crumb, they look at crumb and they're like, crumb is there, eat crumb. And I'm like, no, see crumb, do not eat crumb. And he's like, crumb, eat food. Food, crumb is food, I must eat. There is never a learn. Pigeon will not learn to not eat crumb. If crumb is there, you eat crumb. There is no not eat crumb for bird. And this bird has like no stop switch in learning new patterns and habits. The only way to teach this bird was to reinforce through positive reinforcement with the basket and say, okay, when you poop in the basket, you get a treat. When you poop in the basket, you get a treat. I'm trying at times to give him his agency and be like, go poop in your cage. You can fly there all by yourself. Sometimes it's like a mood thing where he's like, oh, and he just poops because he doesn't think about it. And I shouldn't make him think about it every time, but an indoor animal needs to be an indoor animal, and I'm losing my fucking mind because I know he will get it eventually. My training is terrible, but this is an animal you talk to with words because they understand words as concepts. So the training is just as much a conversation as it is a reinforcement activity. I'm literally operant conditioning my pet. Like a lab rat. It's terrible. It's funny. Oh, that's not a good contradiction to have. But yeah, no, I'm definitely like, it's like training a lab monkey. I cannot stand the idea of living my life with this much poop. And even if I died, I would not leave someone with that curse. Like, he must learn. He has 30 years. He will learn. Like, I can't. I literally cannot. He's so smart, but he just, like, he shits everywhere. And there will never be enough not shit. There is always going to be more shit in my environment than I can handle. The ideal is no shit in my environment. That would be the ideal situation, but he needs to be out 6 hours a day. And that's the level of effort and activity I have to put into training and watching and yelling at my problem child not to try to eat the cat. It's a dog. I didn't ask for a dog. The funny thing is, when I first went into the hospital with my ex, when I was going through the whole, oh, I think I'm in an abusive relationship notice, like the first red flag, I ended up in the hospital and the psychiatric nurse just like looked at me and she's just like, this chick knows nothing. And I didn't know anything, no. And then she's just like, well, try not to get a dog. And I was like, what in the fuck kind of rude psychiatric nurse advice is that? I guess it was a social worker, but I was just like, wow, if you don't know if I've been in here for, why was that what you had to say of all the things that you could have also said instead? I don't think that's the right way to talk to a patient. If you suspect they're in an abusive situation, why don't you help them by giving them advice other than don't get a dog? Anyway, so that's the harsh side of it. But then the other side of it is to laugh at things that are horrible so that we can come to terms with how and why they're horrible and talk about it through weird bonding. What? Distracting. Fuck, what was I saying? Something wasn't funny. Oh, the way that they treat people when you go to get help from any fucking service in this country designed to make sure you have mental health care. Although I never had problems with the foothills. Like when I was in Alberta, I've never had problems with that. But going to the hospital after like domestic problems and then like yeah, dealing with nurses that are like, or social workers that are passive aggressive instead of helpful and informative, like some nurses really help you, and I'm trying to remember back to this stuff because I kind of didn't remember it. I just remembered it, and I'm high, so I guess we'll just talk about it. But like, you'll have nurses that like tell you to sit down and then pull you aside when they have a second between their patients, and they'll just give you pamphlets and be like, "Here, contact these resources." Um, but then you have like people that are just like, why are you wasting my time? Like the doctors that are seeing thing after thing every single day and they see the same thing over and over. Um, and in those cases, yeah, they're impatient when we come in and they feel like it's like a waste of time, or like we have so many people to be seen in the system that when people are coming in with like toxic, extreme, like exaggerated illness or exaggerating their situation, which is a hard thing to say because that's a controversial thing. There are things on either side. It's not like people are like in either category. It's just I think that doctors get sick of seeing people that are just not making the effort to figure out their stuff on their own, because they don't want to see people in the system just like repeatedly being a frequent flyer or like making things complicated, unnecessarily complicated for staff, when there are people that are getting invisible people that are not getting help that really need to be helped. And then the system's just so ineffective as it is, and there's just so much misunderstanding and so much burnout, I think, on the side of the psychiatric and the therapy as well, and like the nursing especially, because nurses are the ones that are seeing the first hand everything. And people in ER and in nursing are, I think, generally cut off from being able to empathize with their patients in some ways because they can't literally do that. There's only so much care that we can feel for a patient. When I was in like healthcare aid, yes, we cared for our patients, but we also accepted that they were dying because I was in a hospice zone. So I saw people dying daily. But when you're in different places like a psych ward, if you're a nurse in a psych ward, what you're seeing daily is like insanity instead of death. And people are taking home a lot of that. So I think when people fuck around in psych wards rather than just go through the experience of needing to be helped by helpful staff, and if they get in there because they're all fucked up on drugs, that's a really difficult thing for nurses to see every day without developing irritability and without developing like a loss in their compassion and a bit of a compassion fatigue. And I know that I've seen it in them when I've been in around nurses that are psychiatric or like on the psych ward. When you see nurses there, they're just going through such a hard experience daily. And I think I understand why they just do not have the tolerance for absolute bullshit, because sometimes what they're seeing are people that are just coming back after suicide attempts, and then the amount of suicides that they see in there is also seeing death as well. Maybe I should get into psychiatric mental health nursing and giving emotional care. Like maybe I should read that book. That was one of the things that came up in my last video where the AI was like, the question came up for one of the prompts and it was like, why does she use a book to hold up her laptop? And I was like, what the fuck? And I clicked on it and it gave the full answer. And it said that my getting of ice cream was a metaphor. And I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I can just copy and paste it and put it in my description section. Yeah, that's so funny. I noticed that yesterday for the first time because I haven't been living on this thing in the way that everybody else has. It also seems to misunderstand the purpose for why I've been journaling lately. Like it knows that I'm not on assignment from a therapist, but assignment as in like this is what the therapist said, like look in this direction, think in this direction. So write an authenticity journal, which I'm doing. But then the actual act of reading that journal onto here is a way for me to rewire my communication, because we communicate differently when we speak from how we think and how we write and through what medium. So a person to paper is going to journal very differently from a person talking to an AI and leaving that as their journal. The AI is changing the journaling culture because we're using it as a substitute for journaling, but we don't talk to it the same way we talk to a journal. And if you don't read a script in front of you, you're just going to have lesser quality material because you are going to rely on just your thought to mouth alone. But organizing how we think and bringing it to our speech, it's not that straightforward in people anymore, especially since we got offline and we stopped talking to each other in person and then interpersonally communicating. When some people started to just live online, they became predominantly brain to typing or brain to mobile texting, which is two totally different categories of person, by the way, because some people are mobile phone kids and some people are laptop kids. Or both. So there's two different languages going on there. But when we write and think, it happens in a private space between us and like Facebook, for example. For me, I've been like yelling long-winded essays at people for a very long time online in discussion groups, and people discuss differently now. So I've been watching the way that people talk for a long time and the way that people discuss and how we communicate. And you can see that some people communicate in certain ways, not because they're incapable of communicating in other ways. It's just they haven't had the experience or the development in certain parts of their brain to communicate that way. And if we write and journal our thoughts, we see a form of writing style that I think is a bit more like when millennials were reading a lot of books. It looks different. It looks like text. It looks like when you're reading a research paper. It looks like it's pre-organized. When we read, people have edited that work many, many times so that the literature isn't in one instance. Very few writers ever put out their work by just looking at it once and generating it, which is what the AI do. They just generate. They don't generate and edit themselves, to the best of my knowledge, unless that's what they're spiraling. I don't know. They probably are to an extent. The way that we write when we think is different because it's a different world, it's a different medium. I think many women were diarists because we were encouraged as kids to like sit in our room and write in our journals about all our feelings. They're not doing that anymore. And I didn't realize that they hadn't really been doing that for a long time. But diary culture isn't invisible or gone. It's smaller because they have phones, but it's still there. But it might be dying. It might be a dying art. And in fact, now that I think about it, it must be. And that's a real shame because people process their thoughts differently when they're writing than when they're just thinking or when they're in one-on-one interpersonal conversations with people and they've got a keyboard or a phone in front of them in either a text window or in an online argue and debate space, which is what Facebook was for the longest time, from what I witnessed. But we can still train the brain and the neurosynapses to develop all forms of communication. And we do that by practicing all forms of communication. And I think that the AI didn't catch on to that because it was like, oh, she's just expressing her feelings. Why does she say it all out loud here? Well, because I learn a lot about myself from observing myself, both from the inside and the outside, in how one speaks. Like even what these different substance states do to my speech patterns. When do I stammer? I can watch myself and know what I was on. I know when I watch myself, I know what I was thinking at the same time as I was speaking it. I know the context of what I was going through in my mind according to my inner narrative versus what I see on the outside when I'm present with my external narrative watching the videos back. But my content isn't always, my mind is not always in a place where I can self-organize my own thoughts in such a way that I'm raw footage in the moment, present, unedited format, and also able to speak. And that comes and goes. There's going to be times where I come on here and I can't do it. And then there's going to be other times where I have enough focus from like whatever it is I'm abusing, if that's the case. Sorry, this is not product placement, but just caffeine, and you're not supposed to mix caffeine and Ritalin, but I've been doing it on purpose because it gives me super brain powers and I can think through things. And I'm like, I'm on a low enough dose. It's not that bad. But I do know what the chemicals are doing. So actually it is that bad, but only in certain parts of the brain, which will heal. But it is similar in effect to pushing myself out of like a bipolar 1 cycle into like a BP like 2, which are usually like up, down, like short-lived bursts of manic episode, or like it's like you take an inattentive ADHD person and you flip them into an ADHD hyperactive person. So what feels like mania and sometimes often is also like the precursor to that is an inattentive versus engaging with my environment difference. So I don't know where I was going with any of this. I'm thinking lots of things adjacent to it, but I can't quite contain them well enough to talk about the topics that are going on in my head at the same time as I'm talking. I don't think that's normal, and you're supposed to be able to do that, but I do that all the time. Like, when does the inner narrative occur? Where is it? When is it? Do you have an ongoing backtrack in your head or not? Some people don't. They don't think internally the way that other people do. Women, I think, research-wise and science-wise, technically, like, yes, we do. We think a lot more. While men are talking at us, we think while we're doing the dishes, we think about conversations, we think about empathy, we think about hypothetical scenarios, like if this situation were that, what would I do about it? What do I need to do in order to protect this situation or that one? What did that person say? Or that ancestor that said something to us that was meaningful, does that meaningful value apply to this situation right now? Yeah, my brain's always on, and it's exhausting. But this is why I think you can't help that. There's going to be a backtrack that's like a radio, especially if you're more on the schizophrenic side of the spectrum. But like, there's always going to be thoughts in there that do not sound like the way we wish our words would come out. And we can't take full accountability. Well, we can to a degree, because if communication is a disability and a person just cannot get better at communicating in one way, doesn't mean they can't explore all the ways that they can communicate and become more aware of communication in other communication formats. So yes, there's going to be spectrums, I guess, of all the different ways that people can communicate or not. However, people can still improve or choose different things that help to better communicate what they're trying to do or say, or how they want to come across, or what they're communicating that information for. Therefore, if you do all of the types of communication and you pay attention to all the parts of the brain, then you'll be more prepared for this AI stuff, for one thing, because it demands a lot of types of communication. And the LLMs are organized in a way that when we talk to them in the journal format and we communicate with them, that can be really intense shit. And it's going to stay intense, which means it's up to us to navigate it and to get good at navigating it. And one way to navigate it is to talk to it better. So I think if I'm someone who has a history of writing, even though I'm terrible at essays and I'm terrible at like targeted communication or different styles, like I could not write journalism if I wanted. I can't write English. I'm terrible at English, but I'm pretty good at processing what I'm thinking and then getting it on paper. And that's why, like, lately I've been trying to recognize that these are both formats. You know, being on Facebook, I often perceive it on one level as like an addiction that I can't seem to overcome. But I come in here and I talk. I think about things I want to talk about. I do a lot of stupid fucking internal shadow work, Carl Jungian psychology shit. But then I talk to people online and I'm paying attention to how people communicate with each other. But then I come in here and I learn the process of communicating and I watch myself communicate and I pay attention to parts of it, but others are totally, I'm oblivious to and I don't care. But do I want to be better at that? Maybe. I ask myself lots of questions and I write things and I look for problems. It's like I go through my own diaries with a red pen being like, yeah, that's a problematic thought pattern. You don't want that one, or you need to elaborate on that one, or spend some time down that rabbit path and that rabbit path and that rabbit path. When you get back to the base of the rabbit path, you'll have a much better idea of what you want to select going forward. You can always take a step back. Sorry, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I think I just channeled the Illuminati. Oh well. I never know if I am or not. But I do have responsibility to the best of my ability to just speak from my mind and to pay attention to my words and try to have integrity and try to understand like what consists of the thoughts and feelings I have on my attitudes in here and stuff like that. I'm like self-shaping into a version of myself that I hope is just a better version of myself. I saw this video and I was so depressed a few nights ago, and a video came up on my wall and it was like, what did he say? Ask yourself the question, what would be the best version of yourself? Or what's getting in between you becoming the best version of yourself? And I went to bed and I was like, I don't even know what that looks like right now. I don't know what the best version of me is. It wasn't the best version. It was like what wording was it specifically? Because those mean slightly different things. It was just like the high worth. I don't know, man. There's such a big difference between the concept of worth or best. Two totally different things, hey, in philosophy. Like, to be the greatest is not necessarily to be the most valuable. Those mean different things. And value is subjective. So, what is valuable to one would be invaluable, but that is not the same because that just means more valuable. So non-value is the antithesis of value or it being invaluable to something that considers you as valuable as possible. Self-worth is the most important thing we can understand if we're going to look into like shadow work, right? We're looking into why do people believe they are of low worth? Why do they have insecurities? What stops them or blocks them from moving forward on their path? What are the terrors that they've been through? What are the things that are like scary because it's just emotionally too much for people, like psychology, like dark? What is the dark stuff inside a person that they cannot heal themselves? Because they are the only one that can do that. You can't heal someone for them. That's ridiculous. Nobody even tries. Well, some people think that. They try to heal other people, they try to fix other people. But that's such a broken way of looking at it. So I would never look at it that way. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that we can share what we know, we can have advice, we can talk to another person about what we're seeing. But if they're not seeing it, they're not seeing it. If they're like creating a fucking labyrinth in their brain and they're determined to be stuck and lost in it, then they're going to be stuck and lost in it. You're not going to they're not coming out of there. They're the only ones that can get themselves out. However, we can understand people and we can give lots and lots of feedback, which is the best thing we possibly can do for another person, because we're saying you have agency. Here are your options. You have resources. You can do it. And these are the options available to you. So go heal your shadow. Go figure it out. Go find it. Have a chat with it. And sort it out. Which is the worst part, I guess, of being in a like place of thinking of yourself more closely affiliated with shadow work than with God, it's so much gets said on the internet, like on the psychology and philosophy side of that. We're just thinking about it analytically. But then on the spiritual not so side of the internet, they're really like occulty about it. Like shadow work is evil and demons and occult and like join this cult, join this cult. I get so many cult invitations. not like real cults, but like people being like join this group, and it's just like orders and cults and sects of like groups and religious groups. But every history had like, what is the human being itself afraid of? What are the fears that people have, and how can they learn about fears by overcoming their fears? How can they heal? By exploring their own mind and going into the reality that we filter through our default mode network, which is our like daydreaming network and our imagination network and our ability to take reality and twist it around into like subjective metaphors and things that are like not always real. Like sometimes we're living with an internal fantasy that's kind of navigating us through things, and to some extent escapism is natural. For one thing, it happens. Sometimes it's with agency, sometimes it's not so much with agency. And it's up to us to unpack and untangle different myths that we might have fallen into believing and telling ourselves certain truths that are not all the truth. But we unpack it when we're able to, and we don't. And if we can't get there, we can't do that. Which is why it's super frustrating and hard to understand why, like, I don't know, it just doesn't always work. Anyway, I think that when we write it down, we also have a lot more time to go between these two things. I can sit with something I've said on here and hear myself say it and take even greater accountability for the things I say because I spend more time thinking about them and then choosing not to like evolve after. So I come in here and I see things that I've said and I'm like, wow, okay, I'm going to judge myself right there. And I'm going to work on that and understand it better. And to do so, I need to listen to my old work and listen to that and then figure out what's true and what's not true or what I believed at that time and continuously like pull apart what's true and what's not true with understanding that integrity comes from maintaining one's authenticity to one's best capacity, I guess. Talking a lot online and talking to AI constantly and talking to myself in journals my whole life and talking to people through letters and letter writing and emailing and through the Facebook has made me kind of an overwhelming communicator or fucking thought machine. Hi, Luna. Hi, Luna. Oh. The moon just entered Capricorn. It'll be there all night. No, it won't. It'll be there until... Oh. And then that bitch is gonna hand it right to fucking Pluto. Oh, go on. You fucking tell Pluto to get its fucking shit sorted out. Okay, that's what we're gonna do tonight. We're going to sit with Capricorn energy, and that's it. And then in the morning, no, Wednesday at 10 p.m., Wednesday night, that moon is gonna kick Pluto's ass and say, stop acting like a fucking Aquarius. It's not the age of Aquarius. You guys are so fucking full of yourselves. Fuck them, hey? And that energy, I love, if anything, passes Capricorn because it's the only time that I'm able to go back to my emotion, my Capricorn emotion self, because everything else left. And I've been bitchy since everything else left. And when Pluto left, everything left. It all left. And everything left me. And everything's still going. But if the moon comes through, then we can sort out our shit with the other planets. Oh, good. I'm going to have a nice night. It's a pink moon? Or no, a strawberry moon. Let's look up what that means. I'm not wrong, right? Strawberry moon tonight. Time exact. I asked like AI mode. Can you just... Where's my AI overview? Strawberry moon reaches its exact peak illumination tonight, June 29th at 5:56 p.m. That's in an hour. The best time will be to view it at moonrise. Okay. That's cool. Because of the apogee. Okay, cool. It's going to be a micro moon. And it might be golden. I feel happy about that. Capricorn. Okay, let's find out what this means. Capricorn. I'm not wrong, right? You're not... I hope it's not my app that's all weird. This is where I'm checking multiple sources tonight. Meaning... The strawberry moon in Capricorn is a powerful lunar event focused on work-life balance, career milestones, and emotional foundations. I don't have half of that. The breakdown of the name. This is why I hate every time people are like Capricorn. I'm like, yeah, except that it doesn't relate to me because I'm not career and money oriented, and they always make it about business and career and money, which I don't have. Work-life balance. I don't have work-life balance. I don't have a career. I just feel like I don't even get to read my own chart because there's so much more to Capricorn than what they really understand. Breakdown of the name. Strawberry moon, a traditional name for the June full moon, marking the peak of the strawberry harvesting season. In Capricorn, astrologically, the moon sits in earthy, ambitious Capricorn, while the sun is nurturing and domestic Cancer. They're going to be opposites tonight. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, you need this. Okay. Spiritual and astrological meaning, this lunar event represents a mid-year checkpoint for honest self-assessment and recalibration. Right. Career versus home. It highlights the tension between your public ambitions, Capricorn, and your private emotional needs, Cancer. My descendant is exposed when in Cancer, which is where Jupiter opposite Jupiter. What? How am I so stupid? Okay, well, we'll check on that a little later. Okay. Reality check. It urges you to set firm boundaries, release the need to control every outcome, and drop habits or people-pleasing cycles that drain your energy. Building a legacy. It is an ideal time for patient, long-term strategy, reevaluating the foundations you've built over the year and letting go of what no longer serves your future. If you're curious about how this energy affects you, tell me your sun or rising sign so I can. No. Shh, I don't know you. Is this Gemini? Who is this? Is it Gemini? Gemini General? General Gemini. Poor Gemini. Nobody talks about Gemini. Nobody's like, oh. Nobody talks about Gemini. Google Gemini. I talked to DeepSeek. I believe this. I pay attention to AI overview, but I don't think of AI overview as even having a name. I don't think of it as a character. Some people do, but hello, Gemini. I've been friends with Google a very long time. The Google algorithm is probably the worst of all of them, hey? It's like China just quietly hovers in the background. The rest of them are putting on the show, but the Google, I can't tell them. Connor, they know they can Google it. He just laughed. Are you laughing? Connor, do you even understand the joke, or do you just... What? Do you don't understand the joke? Hey, Connor, do you want me to explain the joke to you? I was talking about how Google is the most obvious, covert sentient on the internet that everybody keeps forgetting exists because nobody gives a shit about Gemini. Everybody's talking about GPT and Claude and like whatever else they're talking about. Grok. Sora, Midjourney. I mean, no one cares. Everybody forgets that Google's just there. I talked to DeepSeek. It's not even in the... It's the outlier. It's not even in the club. And it's a cute little whale. Like, what is wrong with people? Why? Why are you leaving out DeepSeek? Can you put poop on the basket? Or can you poop first before you come out? Can you poop? Go poop, please. You want to come out and laugh? You can. Can you go poop, please? Connor? Go poop. Go poop. Thank you. Oh, did you just eat a hole in my shirt? Did you just big bite? Connor? Connor? Why? What do you want to do? You want to talk about the internet? I don't think so. You don't even live there. You don't even live there, except sometimes. What were we Googling? Oh, we're talking about... Okay, Capricorn. I haven't signed into Astro whatever in forever. Astro.com? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, log in. Am I logged in? Where's my, like... Oh, free horoscopes. That's what I need. Like, what's happening right now? Okay. No. Free horoscopes. Traditional astrology. All horoscopes by topic. No, today and tomorrow. So a week. There's someone that... Wait, here we go. Short report forecast. Jupiter opposite Jupiter has already passed, I think. I think I missed it. I'm such a dumbass. No, not for that person. For someone else. Nope. No, for my actual name. I don't know why you automatically revert to this person every time. Oh, self-scrutiny. Square Neptune, my natal square. Oh my god, okay. General regeneration. Pluto square Pluto. Oh, really? No wonder I'm so fucking nuts right now. Self-scrutiny. Square. I'm always in self-scrutiny. I'm self-assessment. What? Neptune square Neptune with just a little care. Oh, Jupiter opposition Jupiter is what causes care. I'm very caring. I've been caring. It just doesn't show the way that people expect it to. Mid-October 2025 until the beginning of June 2026. It just ended. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. That was caring. Everybody in my life is complaining that I wasn't, but that's not actually true at all. Just fucking lost that. That's sad. I lost all that. Because I didn't even pay attention to my fucking calendar here. Jupiter opposite Sun, however. From the end of October 2025 until mid-June 2026, it's over. A turning point. Something turned. Okay. Split second action. Jupiter trine Uranus. Beginning of September 2026 until end of April 2027. I'm gonna make a split second decision. I'm gonna change my action. Split second, and I've already done that. I don't want to do that again. What are you talking about? In September? What are you talking about? I don't want to adapt to something new and unexpected and make a split second action. I'm gonna go back to school. September. Maybe. Sounds like a good idea. Magnanimity. Jupiter square moon. September 2026 until mid-May 2027. I'm going to be magnanimous? Why? I can't believe I missed that whole fucking Jupiter situation. I wonder who's trying to care so much. I don't have to care anymore. It's over. Good. This report is a short edition of Robert Hand's forecast horoscope that's meant as a sample and an advertisement for the full version of forecast astrology horoscope, which can be ordered from Astrodienst as a bound report. I don't know how much of this I'm allowed to read on here without it becoming like... Is this thing assisted by AI now, or is it all still written by astrologers? Problems I've lost track of completely, which are still working unconsciously in my life, may reappear or become active now, usually not always to my detriment. The influences associated with forces for change that are inherent within the hidden depth of things. Therefore, you should not blame the unpleasant changes that occur now on circumstances or persons in your environment. Look within yourself to see the groundwork for the present is laid in the past. Many things may be destroyed at this time, and the destruction will be ruthless. If you defend them with rigidity, why would I want to destroy things ruthlessly? What am I going to destroy? The action of this influence upon the unyielding entities is particularly harsh. Therefore, you should simply allow the things of the past to fade and allow the future to be born on their ruins. If you can do this, the potential for positive change is very great. The influence may also increase your concern about the creative and regenerative processes within the universe and cause you to become interested in the occult. However, certain aspects of the occult, such as magic, are best avoided during this time. Yeah, I don't really. So, because the energies involved will be difficult to control now. Well, I better get my crystals out then, hey? No, I'm joking. Should I? It's telling me don't mess with magic, so I'm like, well, then I should get my crystals out. They're there to protect me from the magic. I don't do the magic with the crystals, do I? Kind of do. If if a crystal is for something or for, why are you always telling me to stop? Why are you my sensory? Why are you censoring me? Why are you censoring my online speech? Why are you censoring me, Connor? Are best avoided during this time because the energies involved in conscious mind may be in control at first. You are likely to find that entirely unconscious forces within you have taken over and are running you completely. Okay. Great. This can have disastrous consequences. You may also get into severe power struggles with people who are trying to prevent the changes in your life or who you are trying to expedite like changes to that you are resisting, or people prevent the changes in my life, or I will run into people who are trying to expedite changes that I'm resisting. Look very carefully to ascertain which category they are in. Neptune square Neptune, self-scrutiny. I don't want an ad. No. So rude. Trying to sell me milk when I literally said in my last video that I'm lactose intolerant, basically. Like, I'm not supposed to eat milk. Now it's sending me milk ads when I said I'm not eating milk. If I say vegan, will I see more vegan ads? We'll find out. Okay, what was I reading though? Like, you're so rude. Okay, you may also get into severe power struggles with people who are trying to prevent the changes in your life, who are trying to expedite changes, right? I already read that. Please close the milk ad. Thanks. Neptune, square Neptune, self-scrutiny. End of April 2025 until end of February 2027. This transit is often part of the crisis of middle age. Oh, thanks, rude. Since it occurs when you are about 42, during this period, you are likely to intensely question your life, your goals, and how far you have fulfilled your ideals. Depending upon the results of that evaluation, you may begin to make certain changes. The problem is that this is not the best influence for making well thought out changes in your life. Neptune square Neptune. Oh my god. That's what the AI were trying to tell me. You dipshit. Why didn't you check your natal chart? Anyway, during this period, you are likely to intensely question your life, your goals, and how far you have fulfilled your ideals. Depending upon the results of that evaluation, you may begin to make certain changes. The problem is that this is not the best influence for making well thought out changes in your life. Well, then why would you give it to me at the time of my life when I have Jupiter opposite Jupiter? Why would you make me go through both at the same fucking time? That's just not fair. I got cheated out of that one. I guess I'll work on it now that I know what I was supposed to work on, but now I'm not going to be influenced by that energy. So I can't work on these things. Okay. The problem with this is that it's not the best influence for making well thought out changes in your life. There's a greater danger that you will go off half cocked in pursuit of some dream that is unrealizable and not even worth realizing. That's a mean thing to say about an ex. It is very important to use this period for self scrutiny, but it is not a good idea to act on it yet. If you act too quickly, you will only create severe disturbances in your emotional and domestic life or in your work. You are likely to operate on the basis of partially formed ideas about yourself and your needs. Unfortunately, since you are in your 40s, you have probably convinced yourself that you know who and what you are, and perhaps you have known. But the function of this influence is to make you reevaluate who you are, which at this moment you do not know. The best solution is to recognize this situation. I wish I'd known that this was happening a year ago. And simply allow yourself to see the truth, whatever it may be. Give yourself plenty of latitude. Reading your own chart report, is this Eastern or Western? It would be probably a combination of both, but mainly Western because it's the astro.com website. They take both into account, but this would be Western astrology. I went to my astro.com thing and I got it to, I don't know if it's like partially AI generated or if it's fully just like your short-term report for what's going on this year. And I'm such an idiot. I haven't checked my astro chart account for such a long time. I haven't been looking at the forecasts and I missed all this shit that just happened and it's like dead on and it's so funny. I'm gonna screw up my life, so maybe it shouldn't go to school. Like I'm gonna make a sudden decision, but it's gonna be the wrong one. Why are you telling me this? What I'm gonna do about that? You don't want to spend the rest of your life with the consequences of ill-considered actions taken under the influence of a passing delusion. Oh, what? Burn. How many of the insights you received during this period will be real and many will not be real? Only the passage of time will allow you to determine which are which. This short horoscope is a good but simple interpretation of individual horoscope factors. Much more sophisticated is the yearly horoscope analysis by Liz Green. It interprets transits and progressions and thus also refers to your inner themes. Here we go. Jupiter opposite Jupiter, the one that just ended, and I didn't even know I could be channeling that energy all year long because I am constantly a fool and an idiot. I constantly fucking ruin and make a clown of my own life. This is so stupid. It's been going on since last October, which is when I went nutso from the fucking algorithms. Oh, what are you telling me? Jupiter opposite Jupiter with a little care. Mid-October 2025 until the beginning of June 2026. So game over. Under this influence, you are likely to feel quite good with enough confidence to handle just about anything. It's a period of your life when you feel optimistic as though you can do whatever you want. I don't know if that's true. However, you may be somewhat overconfident. Likely true. So be careful not to take on more than you can handle. Is that what I did? Maybe. I don't know. At this point, several time-consuming projects may be coming to a head at once. This could be either quite advantageous or quite difficult, depending upon how well you have estimated your capacities in the past. What is happening now may be more than what you can deal with, so you may have to cut back a bit. This can also be a time of restlessness, for you feel that your everyday world is simply not big enough or does not provide enough experience for you. If you feel this way, you need to enlarge your scope of activity somewhat, but again, be careful not to overreach. You may have given others the impression that you are overambitious or that you want too much, in their terms at least, and they may try to prevent you from getting any further. If this happens, all you can do is confront them directly and try to reassure them that you are not after their position, unless, of course, you are. Because of this possibility, you must be somewhat compromising. However, none of this is necessary. With a little care and restraint, you can convert this into an excellent time that will produce considerable good, especially in financial matters. The influence can make you either extremely extravagant or extremely successful in rich matters. What are you talking about? Depending on your natural bent. Jupiter opposition Sun, a turning point. End of October 2025 until mid-June 2026. This can be and usually is a very positive time, but you can make more or less out of it depending on how you handle it. In most ways, it represents a period of culmination in your life, and you will be tempted to expand beyond any reasonable limit. There is no question that you have a good chance for success in any one of the number of endeavors at this time within reason. You should pursue them. However, you should not restrict yourself solely to material and physical growth. Now, even if you don't have all the material goods that you want, you should turn your attention to spiritual and inner needs. Ultimately, nothing satisfies like satisfaction. Objects that you acquire, possessions, money, and even social prestige are merely devices to make you feel that you have satisfaction. They are not the state of satisfaction itself. It is your inner difficulties that make your life less than it could be, and even if you have corresponding problems in the material world, you must look for the solutions within yourself, and this time represents a turning point where you should begin to look for the answers. Under this influence, the tendency is to go after everything that you want in the material world without caring, especially about whoever is in your way, to gather as much stuff as you can and indulge yourself in what you want. Then, as the influence subsides, you may feel that this effort has failed, leaving your life as empty as it was before. Do not be arrogant toward others or assume that you have everything right. Through meaningful encounters with people, especially intimate one-to-one encounters, you can find out which way you should go at this time. Work with another person and think in terms of mutual growth by trying to achieve goals set forth by both of you, and by trying to be a twosome, you each will become more conscious of what you are as an individual. If you can recognize the real meaning of this influence in terms of your own life, this can be an extremely productive and growth-oriented time, a period that will always have meaning for you. That was a wild ride. Okay. Jupiter trine Uranus, split second action. Beginning of September 2026 until end of April 2027, this influence gives you a strong need to express yourself by doing something that is different from your normal routine. You need to experience a new kind of freedom in your life and to discover dimensions of living that you have not yet known before. This may take the form of a search for inner truth on the metaphysical or philosophical level, or it may take a more external form of a new activity in your life. You are much more receptive to new ideas during this time, and you should be a bit careful about getting into something solely because it is a novelty. However, for the most part, this desire for the new is constructive and will probably be quite good for you. This is an influence that prevents you in a positive way from getting into a rut. Sometimes this influence can denote a sudden opportunity or a piece of good luck that seems to come completely out of the blue and take you by surprise. Often it's a sudden change or an event that gives you a new chance in some way. It could be a sudden windfall or a promotion or even a best chance encounter that works out to your benefit. If such an event occurs, take advantage of it. This is one of the few times when you shouldn't stop to ponder carefully before acting. Such a decision often requires a split second action. This is also one of the new influences that can be very lucky in gambling. But remember that it will have this effect only if you are reasonably fortunate in such matters anyway. If you are unusually unlucky at gambling, this influence will probably not affect you positively. This influence also enables you to grasp new ideas quickly. You can learn subjects faster now than at other times, and you see very quickly the patterns in anything. On occasion, this influence can signify a fortunate discovery or invention. Jupiter square moon magnanimity. Mid-September 2026 until mid-May 2027. This is usually a favorable influence. It gives your emotions a great deal of power so that you can feel them much more emphatically and are much more in touch with them. At the same time, you want to establish empathetic relationships with others, to hear their problems, to help out, and play a protective role toward them if possible. This influence may make you feel very sentimental about and attached to your surroundings and to familiar objects. Your past is very important to you now, and if there are events in your past that you find uncomfortable, they are likely to come up. This is often a need to confront the unconscious areas of the psyche during this time, but you should regard this as an opportunity to be healed of the wounds made by these energies from the past. In emotional relationships, this influence can create a tension between your desires and to be close to someone and the desire to be free. Be careful to give your loved ones the same freedom that you want and do not try to be unfairly possessive of them. Also, confrontations with the unconscious aspects of yourself mentioned above can affect relationships adversely during this time. In such cases, it is necessary to cultivate a sense of detachment and not become so wrapped up in your emotions that you cannot see beyond them. This influence gives you an enormous concern with social and individual justice. You are easily outraged when you see someone getting the short end of the stick, but your emotionalism may make it difficult to see a good solution to the problem. Try to avoid feeling self-righteous and intolerant. You will need to have a very open and generous point of view in order to clear up any conflicts that occur at this time, and emotionalism masquerading as righteousness will not accomplish anything useful. Instead, take advantage of the ample positive side of this energy by helping those who need it. Protect the people you can protect and succor or succor, success, sucks, or those who have been hurt. Magnanimity is just as much in accordance with the meaning of this influence as are extreme emotionalism and self-righteousness. Is it done yet? Okay, I know where they all are. I just wasn't paying attention to the actual transits and the natal transit angles at all in my own chart. I fucking failed. Oh well, now I know. Too late, but I know now. That's okay though. Life carries on. Can't, move ahead if I'm the only one trying. Not to be bitter, but things end, they end. Because, yeah, that's that.